Today we're learning the signs for the song How Great Thou Art, and I'll go through all of the words, but I will only emphasize the ones that we haven't learned yet in earlier lessons. All right, so we start with the chorus and using the sign for then. So then goes from here to here, and you can do it this way if you want to. So then or then. Sings my soul, we know sings. Stay back here. This is my, and then this is soul. I've seen soul also done this way, or this way, kind of like a spirit coming up. This is what we're going to do, soul. My Savior, God, to thee. We know those words. My Savior, God. You can leave out the to, thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. So there are different ways to do this. You could do literally how great thou art, or what we're going to do is wonderful or marvelous, same thing. Wonderful you are. And we're leaving off the R or the art. Okay, so that's wonderful you are, how wonderful you are. And we're leaving off the how as well. Okay, and then it repeats and sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Okay, so then we have, O Lord, my God. For when you have a timeline here, your finger is the timeline, and you circle around and you put your finger right there in the timeline, when. So that's when it is, right there in the timeline, when. When I in awesome wonder, so you can do I, you can leave off in. For awesome, it's like that. This can also be wake up, you know, your eyes open, but it's also awe or awesome. For wonder, we'll take a W and circle around the head like this. So, you know, you can think and know and wonder. And then you can also dream with your index finger and imagine with an I. So imagine, dream, wonder. When I in awesome wonder. Consider all the worlds. For consider, you can just say think, or what I think is real pretty for this song and what I've seen some others do is to consider like this. You know, you're kind of thinking a lot. Consider. All the worlds, we know that. All the worlds thy hands have made. We know that also. Thy hands have made. Let's see. I see the stars. I hear the rolling thunder. So I see, as opposed to look, I see the stars. These are stars. I hear, and you can leave off the I if you want to as well. I hear the rolling thunder. Now this is thunder. For rolling thunder, you can do it differently. You can do rolling like this. That's what I would probably do. I've seen like this, because, you know, this is rolling, but for thunder, I'm not sure rolling like that really works. So you can do rolling thunder. That's what I plan to do. Thy power throughout the universe displayed. So we know thy, for power, you take a P and you kind of go over your muscles like that. You make the muscle like a hump. Thy power. If you use an A, that means authority. Authority. Okay. So thy power throughout, this is through, you come between the index finger and the middle finger, through. And remember, I'm left-handed, so you mirror image me if you're right-handed. Throughout the universe, you take U's, we've done that before, same as world, but with U's. Universe displayed. For display or show, that's this. for purposes of this song, I think it looks really pretty since we're talking about the whole universe being displayed. I think it's really nice to kind of do that. But this is show or display. You can also initialize it for other things. You can do a T for testimony, a W for witness, an E for example. So, but you know, normally it's just the finger for show or display or something similar to that. Let's see how we're doing. And when I think that God, his son not sparing. Okay, so and we know when we just learned, I think. The sign for that, and you can even leave it out, but if you take a Y and come down in your flat hand, that's that. That. God, his son. So we know all of those signs. For not sparing, we're going to say not rescued. So God didn't rescue his son from being on the cross. So this is the sign for not sparing, not rescued. So here's a person that needs rescued, and so that's rescue. So not rescued. Okay. Sent him to die, I scarce can take it in. So sent, we learned before, him to die. For I scarce can take it in, we're going to say, I barely understand. So this is I. This is, you take an F and come out from your head, barely. I barely understand. And, you know, look a little confused. You don't really understand. Barely understand. I barely understand. Then on the cross, my burden gladly bearing. Okay, so here's our then again. Then on the cross, since we've got burden and bearing in the same line, I'm going to be specific about what our burden is, which is sin. So instead of saying my burden gladly bearing, I'm going to say my sin gladly bearing. Okay. All right. So that's explaining what our burden is. He bled and died to take away my sin. So he, for bled, you put your hand on your heart. The sign for red is an R or a finger coming down over your lips. So, so you've got your heart, you've got the sign for red, and then it's dripping down blood over your heart. That's bled or bleeding. Okay, so he bled and died to take away my sins. So and died and take away. You could do wash away if you want, or you could just say take away like that. To take away my sin. Okay, and then we go into the chorus, which we'll skip right now. We'll do it when we do the whole song to music. Okay, so the last verse, we're going to get all 3 verses in one session here. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation. So again, we have our when for the timeline. When Christ shall come with, this is a sign for with or together. Shout. For acclamation, there are different things you might do. You could just say declaration. This is to declare or proclaim. So with shout of proclamation. You also might substitute something like acclamation could be enthusiastic support. So I've got an app that actually says to do like enthusiastic support for acclamation. So this is probably the easiest thing to do, and it's what I did in church today because that's what I remembered. Okay, I hadn't done that before, and so I didn't even think about it. Okay, and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Okay, so and take me, now you can, the sign for home is where you eat and sleep, because this is like that. So eat and sleep, that's home, but we're talking about home as in heaven. So I'd say take me home, using the sign for heaven like that. Okay. What joy shall fill my heart. So you can leave off the sign for what if you want, but this, I'll show it to you. So you just have your flat palm and you put your fingers, or your one finger across the other fingers like that. What? Joy. You can leave off the shall, which is just will. It's a little, you know, there's future and it's will and shall. It's just a little bit into the future. You can leave that off if you want. Will fill, I think we've done this where you fill is this way. And enough is the other way. If you have enough, to me that's kind of like you know, you have a cup of flour and you're leveling it off. But fill is bringing it in, and then enough, you level it off. So what joy will fill my heart? Middle finger making a heart symbol on the heart. Okay. Then I shall bow in humble adoration. So here's our then again, or then. I shall bow in humble adoration. So we'd already learned those signs before. And there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. So, and there's up in heaven, that's what we're doing it. So, and there, just try not to make it look like thou. So, and there, proclaim, my God, how, fists are together, open up, how. Actually, we're doing marvelous, remember? Yeah, you could say how great thou art, but what we're doing is marvelous that thou art, leaving off the R. Okay, so my God, how great thou art. Okay, so I think that's all the new words. The rest is the chorus, which we've already learned the words for. So the next video will be done to music.